I put on there Jonathan Kent because he is the first one that springs to mind. Just at any time, I try to think of what's a really important father figure. Jonathan Kent in the Superman mythos, unless you just totally pull it apart and dump on it, as Zack Snyder did, and we'll talk about that. He is his true good stand-up fatherhood is crucial to the man that Clark Kent becomes. Now he's aspirational, so there's going to be some innate goodness in him from the beginning, but so much of the Kent's upbringing is his biggest superpower. There's a wonderful line in the first season of Smallville when I think he's fighting a villain who's like an empath, like steals some of his powers some way or whatever. He tries to steal all of his powers, but at the end, Clark defeats him, of course, and Clark tells his father, he says, well, all those powers he took from me, he didn't take my greatest power, and that was you and Mom, their upbringing. Because that's the moral compass, that's the guiding compass. And in terms of iterations of Jonathan Kent, I mean, you just can't beat Glenn Ford in that 1978 Superman film. As brief of a little scene as he has there with Clark as a teenager, why would you ever monkey with that? Why would you ever meddle with that? That is absolute perfection. I did the whole video on it a little bit ago talking about the Oedipal complex in Superman, but this was just Clark is showing off. He has to keep his powers a secret. He can't play football because he might hurt somebody or whatever. So he's basically the team's water boy, and he wants to go out and hang out with the friends and Lana and stuff, but they Shelby, the bully, is causing him extra work or whatever. So he decides he's going to get at least a little bit of a surprise to them. Give him a little bit of something, and he does that thing where he runs really fast home, beats their car there, and they're like, how in the world did you get here so fast? And he's like, I ran, and they drive off. And Jonathan Kent's working on the tractor there behind him, and Clark doesn't know he's there. And he doesn't scold Clark. He doesn't say, what were you thinking? People are going to know about your powers. Oh my gosh, no one's going to accept you. They're going to be terrified of you. No. He just kind of smiles and says, you're showing off a little bit out there, aren't you, son? And his tone, Clark knows it, like, yeah, I didn't mean to, and Jonathan has this talk with him, and he says, look, I know you're at that age, which is normal for any teenager, whether you have superpowers or not, where you're desperate to find your place. You're desperate to find your identity. You feel like you're just going to bust. You want to be known. You want to show everything you can do. You're trying to find your place in the world. And he says, is it showing off for a bird to fly? Is it showing off, for someone to do what they naturally are capable of doing? And Jonathan Kent says, no, not at all. Not at all. Not even remotely. He says, well, here's the thing. You are here for a reason. Make no mistake. You are here for a reason. You have a destiny, and it's going to be great, and you can't squander it on something petty like playing football. That's the beautiful lesson. And he even says in that talk, he says, first, back in the day, your mom and I were scared that, somebody, if they found out what you could do, they'd come and take you away or something like that. But he says, you get older, you get wiser, and you realize that's nonsense, basically. And his encouragement to Clark in that moment then is to hold on to your destiny that's greater than just trying to get a little bit of acclaim and pride points, That's a dad lesson. That's wonderful wisdom that a father should impart to their son. Think about your impact on the world. Don't just focus on how you're going to be seen. Focus on what you can do for others, what your destiny is. That is beautiful. Beautiful. And then, of course, tragically, is Jonathan Kent, Glenn Ford's character, does have the heart attack, which is so sad. But that's an important lesson, too, right? Because Clark has to learn that, as he says over his father's grave, with all these powers, all these things I could do, I couldn't save him. There are things that not even you can do, Clark. There are things that these powers of yours are meant to respect life, never to try to rule it, never to try to meddle in it, as a human yourself here. It's just a wonderful lesson. And it comes back in the end, as I discussed in that video, how that's the real test when he hears Jonathan Kent's words, you're here for a reason. Use your powers to serve. And then Jor-El's words, you're forbidden, from meddling in Earth history. And he decides, even though he loves Jor-El and he's respectful of Jor-El's upbringing and the consciousness that was left behind and whatever, he chooses, I'm going to listen to Jonathan here. He's going to choose the man over the super, as I point out in that video. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Jonathan Kent, the character, holds up in so many ways in comics. In the Superman Kryptonite by Tim Sale did the art, and oh my gosh, having one of those moments. The guy, I talk about him all the time, from DC New Frontier, the great artist and writer, but he only wrote this one. Tim Sale drew it. I've talked about it before on camera. And wonderful scene when he talks to his parents there and he gets some advice from Jonathan. Wonderful comic moments, but I will, as I put in the thumbnail there, I put John Snyder's version of the comic, of the character from Smallville. Now, Smallville, it has its issues. It's a teeny bopper drama at heart, so it's going to get a little melodramatic. It's certainly outlived itself. The whole no tights, no flight thing is fine when he's in Smallville growing up, but once you take him to Metropolis, you get over yourself and go ahead and make it Superman. So they stretched that out way too far. It's got issues, but the great thing about Smallville is that it never strayed from being true to the spirit of that original Donner film. It was so true to the characters, true to Christopher Reeves, portrayal of Superman. Tom Welling did a wonderful job with that. Wonderful job. And John Snyder was a great Jonathan Kent. Now, the show lasted so long that, Jonathan Kent, it had him pass away at one point, which is usually done. It doesn't have to always be done. The Kents can survive. The comics have showed us that. It's not a necessary thing to happen in Superman's life. And I love it when Superman is still out and about, married to Lois and everything, and they can still go back to the in-laws of the Kents. That's wonderful. I like that. But, it is commonly done that at least Jonathan dies, if not both of them, at some point, which is often done in the comics for the hero to kind of discover his own self outside of the parental advice and protection and whatnot. It's done sometimes. But John Snyder was a wonderful, wonderful Jonathan Kent. There's so many times that he would give Clark wonderful advice. Just a true father, and not a perfect person. I mean, the Smallville interpretation of Jonathan Kent, it showed that he had to deal with a temper, for example. Jonathan Kent had a temper, and he had to deal with that, and it was something that he had to learn from. But he also used his own flaw to teach his son, and that was great. And that was wonderful. I remember that one scene where he's talking to Clark about, you cannot kill, you can never kill, because Clark's talking about how this one point he got so angry at somebody, and just that he was so mad at them because of what this villain had done, and he wanted to kill him. Like that thought entered his mind. And Jonathan's like, but you didn't, right? And Clark's like, no, but I wanted to. And Jonathan's like, believe me, I understand a temper more than anybody else, but that's a line you can never come back from, ever. And so all of this, just the straight up idiots, the straight up intellectual infants who try to say that Man of Steel is okay because that's where he's learning not to kill. No, you don't come back from that. Once you're a killer, you're a killer. You don't come back from that. It's just so great. But, we're talking about Jonathan Kent, and this is one of the examples of a father figure that modern day media tries to tear down. Now, in Zack Snyder's case, he's not an ideologue. He's not one of the he's not one of the woke ideologues, right? But he's somebody who is just determined to deconstruct everything good about any superhero mythology. He doesn't understand them at all. He can't work with them or even conceive of them unless he pulls them down to his dirty, grubby, corroded, deconstructed level. And if you're going to do that to Superman, then you need to do it to Jonathan Kent. That's what he did in his movie. Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent is a pathetic, despicable example of somebody who dares to call themselves father. He is a trash character, a trash individual. Just get him off the screen. That's a garbage character. He basically just abuses Clark. He abuses Clark in that movie. To sit there and make your son watch you die, knowing he could have saved you. Don't even come in here with the stupid, no, but it was because he was worried about keeping his secret. And Don't stop deluding yourself. That is garbage. That was a garbage writing, garbage character in every way, and just a blight on fatherhood in fiction in every way. Especially because they're taking such a wonderful character, a wonderful father figure that is so necessary in so many ways, and just dumping all over him. That's just Zack Snyder's complete and utter, not just misunderstanding, but blatant disrespect. And I would say even spite for the character and spite for the mythology. It was disgusting.